And if anyone would like to turn off their video cameras so that they will not be on the recording, feel free to do so at any time. All right, Kathy, take it away.
Okay, I will. So good evening to all of you and welcome to all of you, whether you're gardeners, whether you're friends of gardens, whether you're interested community members. It's good to see you out this evening. For the next half hour or so, we're going to do two main things. First, we have a short presentation on plans for the community garden's first year of operations. And second, we'll have some time for Q&A and conversation. I want to remind you quickly of what Celeste said a couple of minutes ago, that we are recording this session for community members to look at later. So if you don't want your face to be recorded, go ahead and turn off your camera now. During the presentation, do feel free to drop questions into the chat if you would like. We'll get to them during Q&A. And like I said, we will have time at the end for Q&A and conversation. So my name is Kathy Zeke, and I have been working with a group of community members to do some research, some background, and actually some approvals for a community garden here in Reading. It's been very much of a group effort, and we have some recognitions that we'll be doing as we go through the presentation. But let's go ahead and get into what we're working with in terms of a community garden. Next slide, please. So why have a community garden? Well, it really depends on the need of the community. You see the goals of the Reading Garden on this slide, and I want to highlight two components that kind of flow through these goals. First, it's a community space. As it grows, it will be adaptable to different functions. Second, it's a space where gardeners can grow vegetables for their own consumption and to support the food pantry, to enhance our community connections. Next slide, please. The community garden has come together over the last 14 months or so. It began when the town requested a $10,000 set aside in the state budget to start the garden. And with the support of our legislative delegation, Senator Lewis, Representative Haggerty, and Representative Jones, the request was approved. Yay! Since then, a small exploratory group has done a fair amount of research, worked closely with town staff and committees. And just last month, the Mattera site was approved as the home of the Reading Community Garden. I want to be sure and recognize some of the folks who have been very instrumental in getting us to this point, particularly from the staff of the town. Chuck Taroni is with us this evening. He is the town's conservation administrator and will be the garden coordinator at the town level. And Brian Bowe is here as a representative of the Conservation Commission. CONSCOM is the owner and manager of the Mattera site and has been very helpful in getting us to this point. One of the members of our group is Celeste Crockey, who is running the Zoom meeting this evening and is a member of the Climate Advisory Committee, which is another group in town that's been instrumental in getting us to this point. And I'm going to turn the presentation over to Celeste now. She's going to talk about some of the really good stuff that's shaping up for this year. Celeste.
Thanks, Kathy. So we considered a number of different sites, and so what makes Mattera Conservation Area a good location for the community garden? One is that there are multiple terraces that allow for potential expansion and improvements over time. Another is that it adds to recreational opportunities already available at this town-owned location. At Bear Meadow and Mattera Cabin. And it's an underused public space in this portion of the grounds and has good sunlight and access to water. This slide shows the a drawing of what the community garden will look like in year one. Showing plots 1, 2, and 3 down here will be 29 inches high. The remainder will be 17.5 inches high. All will be 4x8 plots in raised beds. And this blue line is a water line. And this area here in the middle will be the pollinator garden. So as I just mentioned, there will be 16 individual raised beds, all 4 feet by 8 feet, 3 of which will be higher than the other 13, and there will be a pollinator garden. We will be accepting applications beginning tomorrow, March 25th through April 8th. You'll have to upload a signed license agreement. And if there's sufficient interest, there will be a drawing at random among gardeners. And those who are selected will be notified of their application's acceptance by April 14th. If your application is not accepted, we will notify you of that as well. So you'll hear from us one way or the other. If you're accepted, there will be an annual fee of $50 due on April 19th or by April 19th. Your plot must be prepared by June 1st, and your plot must be planted by June 15th. The applications are now live on the town website. To access that, you will click on licenses and permits on the town landing page. There will be a short how-to document available by Monday, and you can email our address, which we'll be giving you later in the presentation, if you'd like a copy of that how-to document. In terms of fencing, we know that's going to be a question. That is part of the garden plan, and we will be finalizing the barrier method, the pest control methods of choice with the Conservation Commission on April 13th. Looking forward into the future, these are some, but not all of the potential things that we could add in. There's room to expand for up to 25 to 35 additional plots. We might consider adding a rainwater collection system in future and a storage shed for tools that would be held in common for the gardeners. A greenhouse is another exciting idea, or fruit trees, potential for outdoor gathering space, such as a pergola or a covered area. We are in active conversation with Reading residents, and we might collaborate with university landscape architecture programs, scouts, other local experts, or groups for these potential expansions. And of course, other ideas are welcome too. Oops, I think I might have missed a slide. Sorry. Okay, nope. Back to Kathy to go over the critical points of the Gardener Agreement.
Thanks, Celeste. We wanted to just hit some of the high points in the gardening agreement. We have some links at the end of the presentation that will take you to as much detail as you want to get into, but some things to be aware of. Because this is a community space and a shared space, one of the areas that we've really focused on is practicing sustainability. To work toward that end, of course, you see some of the neighbors there in the photos that we want to be aware of. We are using organic techniques and pest control in the community garden. No invasive plants. There will be resources provided. We'll do some orientations and workshops and provide some links on organic techniques, pest control, plant selection, and garden maintenance. And we will have a drip irrigation system that will run on the schedule that the town runs on for watering. If you need additional water, individual gardeners will be responsible for transporting any of those kinds of needs. Next slide, please. Another key point is building community. The community garden is an opportunity to get together with like-minded folks. So it's a community among the gardeners and also with the wider communities, both in Reading and beyond of gardeners. There will be formal and informal gatherings throughout the gardening season. The garden will be a low noise and leave no trash space. That is, we'll use only hand tools if we are gardening with music. Sorry, I threw we in there because I listen to music a lot, but gardeners will use headphones. Leave no trace means that you remove all trash, including plant materials. Do be aware that there's both a trash container and a recycling bin at the parking lot at Mattera, near the garden, near the trailhead. The next piece that we're going to look at is parking, which is always a topic unto itself. The community garden shares space with users of Mattera Cabin and Bear Meadow. Those of you who have been out there realize some of the different uses that there are in the area. People join that space for group meetings, workshops, classes, birthday parties, bird watching, hiking, dog walking, and general enjoyment, in addition to now community gardening. So there are some parking guidelines that we've put together that are intended to mitigate any kinds of parking problems in the Main Street lot. The good parking news is that there are 2 parking areas available to folks who are using Mattera and Bear Meadow. You may be familiar already with the larger one, which you access off of Main Street, and it's located at the cabin. The community garden is actually, if you look at the photo on the left, the community garden is at the bottom of the photo. Thank you, Celeste, for pointing to it. So that will be like I said, that's the larger one. The smaller one, which you may not be familiar with, is located in the 700 block of Pearl Street. If you look at the photo on the right, the entrance to the parking lot is between the 2 driveways that you see kind of there in the middle of the picture. It looks like you're going to drive into a tree from this angle, but you're not, really you're not. There are about 10 parking spaces there, and the garden is located a leisurely 5-minute walk across Bear Meadow. So next slide, please. Kind of the big picture on the parking at the Main Street lot. Gardeners are going to be asked to limit parking to 2 hours per visit, and to be aware that parking is not available in the Main Street lot when the cabin is rented, and possibly at other times, like when DPW is doing major maintenance work, for instance. There is a drop-off area just off of Main Street for gardeners' use, and the Pearl Street lot is often available. Next slide, please. So now you're asking, how can I get involved? I'm so glad you asked, because there are several ways to be involved. You can apply for an individual garden plot, and I'm going to drop that link in the chat in just a minute, and it will also be on the PowerPoint as we get to the end. You can plan and plant pollinator gardens. We have some large spaces coming up for pollinator gardens, and plenty of opportunity to be involved. If you'd like to subsidize the cost of starter plants for gardeners or donate plants from your garden, that's more than welcome. Watch for invitations. We'll be having opportunities to build and fill raised beds, to help with the harvest, or to pitch in with other garden tasks if you'd like to get out and do something focused like that. Opportunities also abound to share your expertise on organic practices, pest control, and plant selection. And if you'd like to stay updated and in contact, email the Reading Community Gardens Gmail account to join our Google group, or just to get more information. And that email address is in the chat right now. Next slide, please. So planning and launching the community garden is absolutely a group effort. I want to recognize a few people who have been involved in the effort. First of all, our legislative delegation, Senator Lewis, Representatives Rich Haggerty and Brad Jones were instrumental in getting the set aside for us. So they need a big thank you. The exploratory group that has gotten involved with the research and the planning so far includes Celeste Crockey, who is also a member of the Climate Advisory Committee, Simone Payment, who is on the Zoom this evening, who is a Reading resident and volunteer at the food pantry, Ellen Rockefeller with the Reading Garden Club, who is working on implementation pieces. Sue Shealy with the Garden Club was a member in the initial phases and has since retired from this role. And I have been involved as a community member and volunteer. Throughout the exploration and approval processes, we've had a lot of support from the Climate Advisory Committee, the Conservation Commission, and town staff in the Conservation Division, the Department of Public Works, the Planning Division, and Town Manager's Office. So thanks to all of those folks. And I think at this point, we're ready to move to Q&A and conversation.
Anyone have a question?
How can we apply? Do we need to send email? How to apply?
Yes.
Excellent.
So, Kathy, go ahead. You can just describe the process.
Okay. There is a link that I have just put into the chat that will take you to the site that includes the application. The application at this point is a little bit picky. So we're putting together, it's just gone live, as a matter of fact. Chuck Taroni has been in the middle of getting it to this point. It's just gone live this afternoon, and he and I have been back and forth talking about some of the quirks, I guess, that it has. So you're welcome to walk through it as it is. There will be, like Celeste mentioned, just a short 1, 2, 3 step thing for you also. If you want to hold off until Monday, I'll have that for you.
I see a question from Rebecca asking if gardeners will need to reapply annually. We are still discussing that. There is a question of whether perhaps people could reapply, could have a plot for 3 years and then need to reapply. But that has not been finalized. Emily has a question about the cabin rental calendar. Yes, we will provide a link to that, and that's something that we advise you to check before you go each time to the garden. If there's an event there, then it's a pretty good bet that there won't be parking available and you should go straight to the Pearl Street lot. However, as Kathy mentioned, there is a drop-off spot in the parking lot right as you enter. So you could drop off any materials or equipment that you have and then swing around to the Pearl Street lot, park, and then walk over. which Emily also says this is great, and how will Reading residents at large find out about this opportunity? We're going to continue to publicize it throughout the application period. I believe there is an upcoming article in one of the local papers. Kathy, can you remind me which paper?
It actually came out today in the Reading Times Chronicle.
Great.
And we will continue to publicize on Facebook pages, through the town website. Something else that Chuck has done with the revised town website is to build in a section for the community garden on the Conservation Commission page. So it's located there. And we expect to hold some more of these information type meetings as we get farther into the process. Emily, you also asked if there's a schedule for DPW. There is not a schedule just kind of laying out well in advance at this point. If we find out, and by we, I mean the kind of coordinating group, if we find out that DPW is going to be doing some major maintenance, we will definitely email the gardeners. There will be times that we don't know in advance, though. So we do want gardeners to be aware of that. Brian, I thought I saw your hand up a minute ago.
Yeah, I was just going to ask about the invasive species. Will there be support for people who are not quite sure if some particular plant is an invasive species or not, or you're just going to assume people are aware or they can figure it out? Just curious.
Excellent question. We have put a link to the invasive plant list that comes from the state, from the state, that's updated periodically. There's also, I'm sure that you've found other resources that we'll try to provide and link to. I came across one that said, this is a good plant, this is an invasive one, even though they look the same. So look for this detail that would tell you which one's the invasive. So we will be working as closely as we can with gardeners to figure that out. That's where some expertise from some of you all who have been very much involved in trying to control the invasives around here. That expertise would be really helpful. A short workshop with gardeners or kind of a walkthrough as we're choosing plants. Chuck, did you want to add something on that?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I was just going to suggest that we could run through the application process by going to the town website and going into the online application a little bit, just to show people how to get there and what it looks like. Mostly because it's a new site and it's a new permit. So I could do that, or someone else could do that if I could share the screen.
That sounds great. I can give you control if you'd like.
Sure. So let's see where we're at.
Okay.
I'm hoping. Yeah, everything's in the way. Hold on a second. There you go. All right, so first you go to readingmass.gov and click enter. And from there, you'd want to go to, this is our new landing page for the town website. And these buttons, circles down at the bottom, have the areas of interest that are most active on the town website. So license and permitting, and then this is just a warning sign that you're leaving the page, and it brings you to our online services page. And from there, this page, you won't see anything about the community garden. You have to click on the conservation tab here, and you would click that. And from there, need to select what permit you would like. Community gardens right there in the center. It's a little bit of narrative on that page. Click the community garden, and this will bring you through it. It talks about the Mattera Cabin garden plots, and that link will bring you to a map, like we saw previously in the presentation, is the garden agreement. This is very important. Right above it in bold, it says that you need to download this document. There is opportunity, we've added it in this afternoon, to download that throughout the application process. So you can get it here, or you can download it later on in the application. So once you're finished reading that, there's some important dates down at the bottom. March 25th, application is open. The 8th, the deadline to apply, and the 18th, everyone will be notified how they stand with their application. When we go to the application page, I'm already part of the system, so it's filled in, but you would fill in your name and address, telephone number, and this is for our contact list, so you can get current information and be aware of new meetings and whatnot throughout the gardening year. So you would hit next, and it would take you to some options. So this is a permit for the community garden, and home address, 16 Lowell Street. And then landline. And every time I do this, the something's in the way on my small screen here. And my phone number, let's say and you would move on. So that's pretty easy. And this just says you're going to accept the fact that we're going to use your typed in signature as an electronic signature. So let's move on from there. And this is where they ask you to upload the signed documents. But let's see, at the bottom, I can't see it. There is a link. I guess it disappeared on this page, but there is a link to upload the document on that. So once you upload a document, you can move on. And I don't know what I have for documents, but let's see what I have on my desktop. Put that in there, and that'll suffice for the online agreement. Hit next, review my information, making sure that that's okay, and then hit confirm and submit. And you get this message. The application review is in progress. And if you want to sign back in at some point and type in a message asking how the progress is going, how many people have applied, whatever might come up, we'll get that at town hall. But if you use the Google address, you'll be talking to the community garden group. So that's the run through. I think that one thing I did notice is there was supposed to be a link at the bottom of each page, which worked when I left the office tonight, but it's not working now. But we'll have to work on that to make sure that that gardener's agreement is available on each page. Most importantly, you would want to download that wherever you find it and sign it, and then upload it and have it available for this application. Not only do we have the gardener's online permit system, but on the Conservation Division page, there is a gardener's page also with all this information, including the gardener's agreement. All right, that's the run through.
And
Okay.
thanks, Chuck. And to clarify really quickly, I'm not sure if anyone has asked this yet, but we are doing this as a drawing at the end. So this is not a first come, first served basis. This is also, the drawing also assumes that we will have more than 16 applicants. If there are 16 applicants, then obviously there will be no need for a drawing. However, we will be waiting until the end of the process. So don't panic if you have difficulties with the website or with uploading. Just reach out if you run into difficulties.
Yeah, I think it's, and you can also come down to town hall and do that stuff. We can accept the checks at town hall, and we're going to help you with the application. We have a screen right at the public services desk, so that can help also.
We're
Other
trying to make it as easy as possible.
Are there other questions? Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight, and we hope to see you, a lot of you at the garden this summer.
And I want to repeat the invitation if you would like to be added to a Google group to stay in touch about the community garden. Just send us your email at the Reading Community Gardens @gmail.com address, and we would be more than happy to add you to the group and be in contact. See you in the garden.
Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Good night.
Have a good
Good
evening,
night,
everyone.
everyone. Thank you.